What I've noticed with a lot of white people, okay, and I'm going to say this from the jump as we're going to get deeper and deeper into this. White people messed up by thinking, a lot of white people messed up by thinking that black people desire the same things that they do. And when I say that, I mean black people do not have the desire to colonize, enslave, whip, harm, maim, grape white people. We don't have that desire. Black people's desire is to be left alone so we can self-determine ourselves, so we can do what we want for ourselves. We don't desire to do that. And one of white people's biggest mistakes, from me being on this earth, the amount of time I've been on this earth and hearing white people and seeing white people, you keep making the mistake by thinking that black peoples want some type of revenge for the colonization and the enslavement that European nations did to black people. What up, guys? I am Sa Ra Garvey and Happy New Year. Now, we are going to be getting into some things this year. We are going to be diving deep. We're going to be going deep. We are going to be going into some things that maybe make people feel a little bit uncomfortable. But because I'm Sa Ra Garvey, I don't care. So welcome one, welcome all. Today, we are going to be looking at Enoch Powell. I'm not holding any punches this year. It's 2024 and the world's getting crazier and crazier and crazier. So what I'm going to do in this section is I'm going to be analyzing some famous speeches that have gone on throughout history. Now, today I'm going to be analyzing a speech called the Rivers of Blood speech by a man by the name of Enoch Powell. Now, for those who already know who Enoch Powell is, here's my disclaimer. I am not here to talk about a man's character. I'm here to talk about the words that were stated in each speech that I actually analyze. I'm going to be analyzing speeches from Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Greta Thunberg, all kinds of people. We're going to go through all kinds of speeches. And what I really want to do is I want to analyze to see if these people are actually geniuses, or are they the ramblings of some crazy narcissistic individuals that we call leaders. So we're going to get to Enoch Powell. John Enoch Powell, MBE, was a British politician. He served as a Conservative Member of Parliament from 1950 to 1974 and was Minister of Health and then the Ulster Unionist Party. Before entering politics, Powell was a classical scholar. During the Second World War, he served in both staff and intelligence positions, reaching the rank of brigadier. He also wrote poetry and many books on classical and political subjects. Now, many people, if you are up on UK politics, say that Powell was a racist. Okay, Enoch Powell was a racist, and this speech solidified it. So I want to go into the speech and kind of see whether he was a racist, whether he got things wrong, whether he got things right. So let's delve in. A week or two ago, I fell into a conversation with a constituent, a middle-aged, quite ordinary working man employed in one of our nationalized industries. After a sentence or two about the weather, he suddenly said, "If I had the money to go, I wouldn't stay in this country." I made some deprecatory reply to the effect, and even this government wouldn't last forever. But he took no notice and continued, "I have 3 children. All of them have been through grammar school and 2 of them are married now with family. I shan't be satisfied till I have seen them all settle overseas. In this country, in 15 or 20 years' time, the black man will have the whip over the white man." The black man shall have the whip over the white man. Enoch Powell's first mistake, in my personal opinion. What I've noticed with a lot of white people, okay, and I'm going to say this from the jump as we're going to get deeper and deeper into this. White people messed up by thinking, a lot of white people messed up by thinking that black people desire the same things that they do. And when I say that, I mean black people do not have the desire to colonize, enslave, whip, harm, maim, grape white people. We don't have that desire. Black people's desire is to be left alone so we can self-determine ourselves, so we can do what we want for ourselves. We don't desire to do that. And one of white people's biggest mistakes, from me being on this earth, the amount of time I've been on this earth and hearing white people and seeing white people, you keep making the mistake by thinking that black peoples want some type of revenge for the colonization and the enslavement that European nations did to black people. White people, I'm going to say this to you directly. Black people do not desire to whip you. They do not desire to hurt you. They do not desire to colonize you. Okay? Stop thinking that black people have the exact same things in their minds that the Europeans did. And that was Enoch Powell's first mistake. Let's move on. I can already hear the chorus of execration. How dare you say such a horrible thing? How dare I stir up trouble and inflame feelings by repeating such a conversation? The answer is, I do not have the right not to do so. Here is a decent, ordinary fellow Englishman who, in broad daylight in my own town, says to me, his member of parliament, that his country will not be worth living in for his children. We have to be mindful that this is a speech from 1968. The mindset in 1968 is different from the mindset right now in 2024. The mindset of fear that a lot of white people had in 1968 for black people or against black people was very raw because of the colonization and enslavement. And so, as a black person, I understand the fear, but it's misplaced. I simply do not have the right to shrug my shoulders and think about something else. What he is saying, thousands and thousands of thousands are saying and thinking. Not throughout Great Britain, perhaps, but in areas that are already undergoing the total transformation to which there is no parallel in 1,000 years of English history. In 15 or 20 years, on present trends, there will be in this country 3.5 million Commonwealth immigrants and their descendants. This is not my figure. That is the official figure given to by Parliament by the spokesman of the Registrar General's office. There is no comparable official figure for the year 2000, but it must be in the region of 5 to 7 million, approximately 1/10 of the whole population and approaching that of Greater London. Of course, it will not be evenly distributed from Margate to Aberystwyth and from Penzance to Aberdeen. Whole areas, towns and parts of towns across England will be occupied by sections of the immigrant and immigrant descendant population. What's amusing for me about this is that the white people of the time couldn't foresee the future. Black peoples are assimilators. This is what white peoples don't understand. Black peoples are not here to take over anything. When the Commonwealth put out the call to black peoples to come over, remember the difference in immigration that we have now in the UK and that we had back then was that black peoples were asked to come here. They were asked to come and help on the railroads, in the hospitals. They were asked to come here. And so black people said, hey, okay, cool. The call's been put out. I'm going to go and help the quote unquote Commonwealth. The migration that the UK currently has is not about the putting out of a call for them to come. Now, the birth dearth was written for white people to show them what happens when they don't have enough babies. One of the things that I've mentioned on this channel before, one of the things that I've mentioned historically is that a lot of white people have a fear. A lot of the fear of white people is that their gene pool is going to dwindle. Now, one of the things that I've stated on this channel before is that a lot of white people have a fear of genetic annihilation. Frances Cress Welsing goes into it in her book, The ISIS Papers. A lot of the racism that we find is down to the fact that white people are scared of their gene pool diminishing. Now, if we look at it on a global scale and not just a minuscule scale and looking at it by nation, what you will find is that many white skinned countries are at minus birth rate. White people aren't having enough babies. That's the bottom line. White people are not having enough babies. And if white people are not having enough babies and then other immigration happens and migrant people come in and they mix with the quote unquote indigenous white people, what is going to happen eventually within the future is that white people are going to die out. What he was actually scared of was the subconscious conversation that happens within the minds of many white people. And that is the fact that genetically, black men are able to breed out the white civilization. This is not something that I am championing, by the way. I'm just looking at it from a genetic point of view. So now if we look at it on the scale of the globe, okay, white-skinned people only make up around 10% of the global population. The rest of the population is made up of Chinese people, Africans, Arabs, and all other nations in between, people of color. Now, black men, this is the reason, this is my own personal reason why I think Enoch Powell and the white population were so fearful of black people and are so fearful of black people, is not because they think that they're going to attack them. It's that they're going to attack them with that. You see, a black man doesn't necessarily need a gun in his hand, because the gun that a black man has to annihilate white people actually rests between his legs. That's right, a black man's phallus could be the end of the whole white population. Why do I say that? Because in a dwindling population that is at minus birth rate in some places, where a genetic gene pool like the black man's gene pool, once he has sex with the white woman, that baby is no longer white. And that is the fear that Enoch Powell had along with the rest of the white population. Now, is it a legitimate fear? I would say yes. I would advise white people to have more babies, because we need all of the races of the earth on the earth to survive. Chinese, African, Arab, white, whatever, you name it, we should all survive. White people, however, are not having enough babies, and this is what the birth dearth went into. Nothing is more misleading than comparison between Commonwealth immigrant in Britain and the American Negro. The Negro population in the United States, which was already in existence before the United States became a nation, started literally as slaves and were later given their franchise to the rights of citizenship, to the exercise of which they have only gradually and still incompletely come. The Commonwealth immigrant came to Britain as a full citizen to a country which knew no discrimination between one citizen and another. Let's be real here. Every nation has known discrimination between their citizens. You can't say that, Enoch. Look, I'm going to close this. And I'm going to close this by saying Enoch Powell's speech was a speech of the time. But Enoch Powell's speech was a speech that didn't see the future. Enoch Powell's speech was a speech that didn't see who their real quote-unquote enemy were. Now, I've said this before. The UK have let another ideology on their shores to fester. Not the ideology of the black man and black woman, because the ideology of the black man and black woman essentially is to assimilate, get along and do their own thing. The UK have allowed an ideology upon their shores which seeks to dominate them, but it is not the ideology of the black man and black woman. So in seeing this and in knowing this, I would say that Enoch Powell's speech was wrong. He saw the wrong people as the people that he needed to be fearful of. Now, it's not his fault, because at that time, the ideology of Islam was not reaching the shores of the UK like it is today. But it is today. And we see it today. We see it in the UK. And so what I'm going to say to the white people of the UK is that, again, black people are not your enemy. We have never been your enemy. You and your nations have always been fearful of black people doing the exact same thing to you that you and your nations done to black people. So take that how you will. I have been Sa Ra Garvey. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to catch you on the flip side.